Hello everyone. The children have been making cards today. Step forwards, mummy and mama, daddy and papa, baba and mama, oh, puppy and Oliver, just Oliver is it? Okay. Ninny and mappa? Sure, okay. Noddy? A noddy? Oh no, never mind, that's a bit of chocolate over the word daddy. Gosh, it was so much easier when it was just mum and dad, wasn't it? Yes, back in the day. It must all be so confusing for the children.
Don't you mean it's confusing for you? You're the one who keeps putting pictures of unicorns next to elephants whilst I'm trying to teach my child what's a real animal and what's not. Teaching them about the natural variation in family makeup is natural and quite easy.
Hello, lovely people. In this video, won't somebody think of the children?
How does having same-sex parents affect children? Do you need a mum and dad to do well in life? The majority of successful people ever say that's a weird question. Simmer down. Yet the argument that children need anatomically different parents is often used by people opposing LGBTQ+ rights like same-sex marriage. But is it actually true? Spoiler alert, no, it's not. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Jessica, and along with my lovely wife Claudia, I'm the mother of a very adorable toddler. His name is Rupert. He's 2.5 and he remembers to say thank you and please every time. I don't know why, but I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. And if you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to stick around for videos talking about disability, queer history, vintage fashion, and in general, lots of gay, chronic illness and ADHD vibes. When we think about families, most of us picture a nuclear family with a mum, a dad, 2 children, maybe a cat or a dog.
Yes, exactly, a normal family.
Despite having an extensive library of inclusive books and a range of friends with different parenting setups, even Rupert still automatically says mummy and daddy when he doesn't know a character's backstory in a book. They'll point to the grown-ups around the child and say, which one is her mummy and which one is her daddy? No, not which one is her mama. I'm the one who reads you all of the books. But it's fine, I get it. He essentially eats books, and there are only so many ones about kids with gay parents. You can find a list of my favourites in a video that I will link in the description. But what he does know is that families in real life can all look very different. 1 parent, 2 parents, or 3 parents. That children can have 2 mums or 2 dads or live with their grandparents. And I really love that he knows that there are many different ways families can look. When we're on the playground, he might say something along the lines of, oh look, that child's wearing a matching coat to their adult. Hello, is this your adult? Did they choose your coat? It's a very nice coat. Mama, can I please have a matching coat with you? Because yes, the sartorial tastes of his peers are genuinely riveting to him. But also because if you don't know if that child is there with their foster carer or their nanny or their uncle or their friend's mum, for some reason he took all of my attempts to teach him about family inclusion and kind of went to, children have adults who look after them, therefore adult is the word. That is what I refer to them as until I know otherwise. And I think that's great and have decided to run with it, so there you go. No feelings hurt here. No one who doesn't know that parent or doesn't have that type of parent or can't be with that parent for whatever reason gets upset that they've just been confronted with, is that your mummy? Or where's your daddy?
Oh no, I just meant that most children have a mum and a dad.
The reason that we have this idea in our heads about what a typical family looks like is that's because it's how we've been told families should look, which ignores single parents, multi-generational families, and same-sex parents. This ingrained idea about what a family should look like is used to enforce the idea that having same-sex parents will negatively impact children. And of course this is backed up by policies which have stopped LGBTQ+ parents accessing IVF or other means of becoming parents, or laws stopping us from being legally recognised as our children's parents. But is the misconception that same-sex couples don't make good parents just lingering homophobia, or does it have any basis in fact? Well, let's see if the research can refute the assumption that children with same-sex parents will do worse than children with different sex parents. In fact, they might even do better than them. Speaking of good parenting, what better way to protect your whole family online than with today's video sponsor, Surfshark? Well, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the top-tier VPN app and browser extension. Let me tell you why I think they are so great. Surfshark cuts out the fuss with their easy-to-connect-to server, allowing you to change your virtual location swiftly and granting you access to sites, services, and content that you can't usually see. I did tell you they were top tier. Your internet traffic enters an encrypted tunnel, which helps shield your identity from websites, apps, and services that want to track you. So you know how when you're in public, right, and you're connecting to public Wi-Fi, and then your computer goes, wait, this isn't safe, it's weak security, and you're like, yes, but I really do need to get some Wi-Fi right now, because I actually have to be online. There is no other option for me. What can I say? Well, if you had just gone on Surfshark, you would still be able to go on that Wi-Fi, but you know, you'd be safe. Movie nights in our household are much more fun thanks to Surfshark, as we now have access to streaming service libraries from several different countries. No longer do I have to wait. Thanks to Surfshark, you and your household can also browse the web without worry to your heart's content, putting your safety and security first, or, you know, getting access to the content library if that's what you care about. Surfshark has been so kind as to give viewers of my videos a special 3 months for free when you click the link in my description or use the QR code on screen now and use code Jessica. 3 months for free. A steal if I say so myself. Now, on to the rest of the video. A quick note about language.
But wait, Jessica, you keep saying same-sex marriage. Don't you mean marriage equality?
No, I am intentionally using same-sex marriage here. Whilst people can marry others of the same gender in the UK and in 25 other countries around the world, I don't think we can describe this as marriage equality when disabled people, including disabled LGBTQ+ people, can't get married without losing access to their benefits in many countries, so...
But that's a whole other video.
I'm going to be using terms same-sex parents and same-sex couples in this video, but I'm absolutely including, for example, couples with a trans woman and a cis woman in that definition. Also, same-sex parents is probably what you typed into YouTube to find this video if you want to already subscribe to me, or how YouTube knew to feed it to you. SEO! I'm also talking specifically about same-sex couples today rather than queer parents in general, because obviously while a bisexual woman and a bisexual man are also queer parents, they will have a different experience to myself and Claudia, for example. And you know, a lot of the research that I looked at for this just only focused on lesbians and gay men. It is very hard to find anything else. Some studies include bisexual and transgender parents, but there is basically no mention of asexual or non-binary parents. Please give me your research papers if you have them. I'm intrigued. Drop me your citations down below. And to their credit, some of the studies I read did acknowledge, while discussing their limitations, i.e. the reasons why the conclusions that they drew might not be perfect or broadly applicable. It is hard to accidentally have a baby as a same-sex couple. One aspect that is important to consider when discussing the impact of growing up with same-sex parents is just how challenging it is to have children as a same-sex couple. I mean, it's kind of pretty challenging to have children as any couple. Have you seen the cost of childcare in the UK? And they wonder why we're not having more kids. Why am I trying to have another child? Anyway, in the UK, cis-het couples need to spend a year trying to conceive before they can be referred to fertility services through the NHS. Depending on where you live in the country, actually, it's kind of broken down by regions. Some places it's 3 years. How you prove to them that you've been trying? Have fun, send them your sex tapes. Don't do that, never send someone your sex tape. Anyway, no matter how much Claudia and I tried to have a baby, it was just not happening, strangely enough.
Is that why your child doesn't look like you?
Well, yes, if you can't accidentally get pregnant, having children becomes a much more intentional decision and one that is going to take time and money for most same-sex couples, regardless of how they decide they want to bring a new person into the family, whether that be through birth or adoption. Which is not to say that there aren't children being raised within same-sex families currently who are intended to be part of that dynamic from the moment of conception. Obviously, relationships aren't fixed points in time. Family makeups flow and change, coming together, blending, and sometimes falling apart. Hey, potentially that child was conceived in a heterosexual relationship, which then broke up because one of the parents realised that they were gay, and now that child is being raised in a same-sex family with a new partner Equally, two parents might read as being same-sex now, but didn't when their children were conceived, and I do not in any way intend to invalidate those children here. However, Dr. Denny Mazuraki, a researcher on one of the studies we're going to talk about later, has said that same-sex couples often have to use expensive fertility treatments to have a child, meaning they tend to have a higher level of wealth and are also very motivated to become parents. This means that not only do same-sex couples have to really want to have children to even start those processes, but also that those of us who do will often have money and resources to provide for those children.
Though it would also be great if fertility treatments were less expensive and more accessible, because it causes me physical pain thinking about how much money this second baby has cost us over the last year and a half, and it's very much not here yet.
What the research actually says. A lot of the public debate about the legalisation of same-sex marriage focused on the disadvantages that children raised by same-sex couples might face. The insistence that children do better with a mother and a father was central to the framing of opponents to same-sex marriage in the US onwards from the 2000s. I can't even.
Growing up, having a mum and a dad, it's normal and natural, isn't it? So you just want to make sure that having two mums or having two dads, it doesn't affect them when they're growing. I'm not homophobic myself. I've got lots of friends who live very different lifestyles, and I'm totally fine with it. You've just got to ask, haven't you? Just got to ask these questions sometimes. And if you're worried about my children being bullied, just don't bully them.
Same-sex marriage has been legal in the Netherlands since 2001. Whilst earlier research has shown negative associations between same-sex parents and educational outcomes, or no link at all, same-sex parents and children's school progress, an association that disappeared over time, which was published in 2019, found that children raised by same-sex parents from birth outperformed children with different sex parents on standardized tests. Additionally, they found that children raised by same-sex parents from birth continue to outperform children raised by different sex parents in secondary education, and were 4.8 more likely to graduate from high school. Their research found that given the time-consuming and costly procedures for same-sex couples to obtain children, same-sex parents typically have higher socioeconomic status, resulting in better school outcomes. However, although the positive association dropped significantly when the researchers controlled for socioeconomic variables, it was not entirely removed, so it's good. This paper also noted that there is a difference between children raised by same-sex parents from birth and children who live with same-sex parents at a later date who perform worse, albeit not significantly, on the test than children with different sex parents, likely due to the negative influence of parental separation, or having been adopted, and the association of the trauma around adoption, which would have played into this, not the fact that their parents were of the same sex.
So children with same-sex parents only do fine?
I think you mean children with same-sex parents do the same as or better than.
Okay, sorry. So children of different sex. So children of So children of same-sex parents do the same as or a bit better than children of different sex parents when it comes to things like academics. All right, yes, okay. But what about emotions and relationships? Will they be all right emotionally? Are they going to grow up okay? Are they going to grow up, having odd feelings? Can they make connections emotionally?
Well, the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapists reports that adolescents with same-sex parents reported feeling more connected at school. Another study reported that children in gay and lesbian households are more likely to talk about emotionally difficult topics, and they are often more resilient, compassionate, and tolerant. Mine is Irene. He's 2.5. So, he loves the whole world. Additionally, the time parents spend with their children is accepted as an important factor in the impact of family structure on children. So, researchers kind of compared how much time same-sex parents spent with their children compared to different sex parents. Now, published in 2015, their analysis found that women in same-sex couples were more likely than either women or men in different sex couples to spend such time with children. Overall, women, regardless of the gender of their partners, and men coupled with other men, spent significantly more time with children than men coupled with women. Research published in the BMJ Global Health in 2023.
Deep breath, long research article title incoming.
Found family outcome disparities between sexual minority and heterosexual families, a systematic review and meta-analysis found that same-sex parents reported significantly fewer psychological problems amongst preschool-age children than different-sex parents. The same research found that same-sex parents showed higher levels of parent-child relationship quality, such as higher levels of warmth, greater amounts of interaction, and more supportive behaviour. Additionally, the study found that being able to explore gender and sexuality may even enhance children with same-sex parents' ability to succeed and thrive in a range of contexts. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, yeah, all the children I know of same-sex parents are certainly much freer in their ability to like what they want to like, regardless of whether it's sold on the shelf for boys or the shelf for girls. It's enjoy what you want to enjoy.
Yes, you had that right. The fact that they grow up feeling more comfortable expressing themselves and are less limited by rigid gender binaries like blue and trucks being for boys and pink and dolls for girls means that children with same-sex parents are more resilient.
The study also found that children with same-sex parents are more tolerant of diversity and more nurturing towards younger children than children of heterosexual parents.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
I have more. So, behavioural outcomes of children with same-sex parents in the Netherlands, published in 2022, explains that, based on family system theory and minority stress, one would assume that children with same-sex parents might experience more kind of psychological problems than children with different sex parents, right? Discrimination and whatnot. However, this is not borne out by the data. They found that both family types show similar levels of behavioural adjustment and conclude that there is considerable resilience within the family systems of minority families in order for mental health disparities not to get passed down to children.
I feel it's a sign of good parenting that disproportionately high prevalence of stress-related psychological morbidities such as depression, anxiety and other mental disorders amongst LGBTQ+ folks, which is how the study puts it, doesn't lead to negative outcomes for children with same-sex parents. Go us!
So, a meta-analysis published in 2022 summarised data from 32 studies across 6 developmental outcomes: child gender role behaviour, gender identity, sexual orientation, cognitive function, psychological adjustment, and quality of parent-child relationships. I'm linking this all in the description below, and found that same-sex parents have an overall positive effect on the developmental outcomes of the children. They conclude that all results indicate there is no reasonable justification for prohibiting same-sex parents from a caring and loving parenting experience. In fact, they even go so far as to implore legislators to vote against policies that seek to discriminate against same-sex households.
I wasn't saying that same-sex parents can't be loving. I was just... Hang on, actually. Are there even enough same-sex parents to base any of this on?
Whilst early research had small sample sizes due to the lack of same-sex parents,
I wonder why that could be.
We now have much stronger data and research trying to answer the question of whether having same-sex parents negatively impacts children. And Sexual and Gender Minority Families, a 2010 to 2020 decade in review. There are a lot of studies that I need to remember the names of, and sometimes it gets confusing. Found that studies using new nationally representative population-based survey data put this question to rest, consistently showing that children in same-sex households experience similar health, behavioural and educational outcomes compared to children in different sex households.
It's not a mic drop so much as a robust body of scientific literature drop.
Academic and personal biases.
But Jessica, you're gay, so aren't you biased about all of this data anyway?
He's amazing. He's the best child who's ever lived. So yeah, when we dig into topics like this, I feel it's kind of important to include stats and scientific studies to show I'm not only sharing my own opinion. It's a discussion that impacts me personally, but the just asking questions, misinformation on this issue can kind of cause some genuine anxiety in same-sex couples that they will negatively impact their own children, which is why I wanted to pull together evidence that same-sex parents can be and are great parents. Yay! We're doing great, guys.
And if thinking that LGBTQ+ people and parents deserve the same rights as everyone else is biased, then yes, I am biased. And honestly, I'm okay with that.
But it's not just gay people who can be biased when it comes to this topic. There is research that claims there is a vital and unique role of mothers and of fathers in childhood development. This is a quote from Growing Up with Gay Parents, What's the Big Deal?, which was published in 2015 by Richard Fitzgibbon. Fitzgibbon was an adjunct professor at the Pontifical John Paul II Institute for the Studies of Marriage and Family. It's a Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C. Wow, we're shocked. Oh, it's Catholic. Didn't see that coming. My goodness. And a consultant to the Vatican's Congregation for the Clergy. Wow. And the paper was published in the Lenica Quarterly, the official journal of the Catholic Medical Association. Yeah, the Catholic Church doesn't support or recognise same-sex marriage, and at least in 2015 there was some disagreement about whether the children of same-sex couples should be allowed to be baptised. I don't know why I'm punching my hand. It feels like there might be a slight conflict of interest there, I have to say. As well as looking at the author of the paper, it is worth checking who has funded the research. While research published in 2012 claimed that children with same-sex parents may fare worse in terms of their mental health, the study was funded by conservative groups. A joint statement from GLAAD and other LGBTQ+ organisations described it as flawed, misleading and scientifically unsound paper that seeks to disparage lesbian and gay parents. Because the reality is that we've reached a point where some researchers no longer think that we should be looking at whether children with same-sex parents do fare worse, because there's enough evidence now that they don't. In Behavioural Outcomes of Children with Same-Sex Parents in the Netherlands, which was the study published in 2022, the researchers conclude, given this converging evidence of no difference, we recommend a renewed focus away from a deficit-driven comparative approach towards understanding stress and resilience factors unique to sexual minority families. The too long didn't read here is that the idea that children with same-sex parents do worse than those with different gender parents is decidedly outdated. It's also important to note that there is a much higher percentage of children in same-sex couples that are adopted than in the general population. Again, it's hard to accidentally have a baby as a same-sex couple. Scientific research into the life outcomes of children with same-sex parents needs to take this overrepresentation into account, because adopted children are more likely to experience adoption trauma or to be affected by the breakdown of their family of origin and circumstances that have brought them into the adoption process. This might impact their academic performance, mental well-being, etc., but this outcome would be the same regardless of the gender of their adopted parents.
Well, if children with same-sex parents are better, fine, successful, where are they? Where are all the successful children with the same-sex parents?
There are a number of very well-known people who have one or more gay, lesbian or bisexual parents, or who were raised by same-sex couples. You've probably heard of at least some of these people. Actress Amy Adams' parents divorced when she was 11, and she and her siblings grew up with her mother Catherine and her new partner. The first black woman to be nominated for the Best Leading Actress Oscar, Dorothy Dandridge, was in fact the daughter of bisexual actress Ruby Dandridge, who began dating her partner, Geneva Williams, after divorcing Dorothy's father. Actor Robert De Niro's parents divorced when he was 2 years old, and his father, Robert De Niro Sr., a famous abstract expressionist painter, came out as gay and had a relationship with the poet Robert Duncan. Actress Ali Sheedy's parents divorced when she was 9, after which her mother, Charlotte Sheedy, a literary agent and activist, came out as a lesbian. And Ali's adult son, Beckett, is a trans man. Actress and singer Jenna Malone was raised by her mother and her mother's girlfriend, who she has called her godmother. Jenna herself came out as pansexual in 2022. Comedian and actor Andy Richards' parents divorced when he was young, and his father later came out as gay. Actor and former pro wrestler Dave Bautista's mother, Donna Ray, is a lesbian. Actress Jodie Foster was raised by her mother, Evelyn Brandy Foster, and Aunt Jo, her mother's partner. Jodie herself came out during her Golden Globes speech in 2013. And at the 2021 Golden Globes, she accepted her award for Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture via a Zoom call with her wife next to her. Rapper Jay-Z's mother, Gloria Carter, came out in 2017. The song Smile on his album 4.44 is dedicated to her and features her reading a poem. I don't actually know if that's how it's pronounced, 4.44. Finally, and perhaps most famous, Liza Minnelli and her mother, Judy Garland, both have gay parents. Actress and singer Liza Minnelli's father, director Vincent Minnelli,
Biographer Emmanuel Levy claims he was out while directing in New York, but was pressured to hide his sexuality after moving to Hollywood, where he met Judy Garland, who he married in 1945. Meanwhile, Judy's own father, Frank Gunn, was gay, or possibly bisexual, but certainly interested in men.
Of course, being famous isn't necessarily a measure of being happy or having a good life. However, in the face of claims that same-sex people shouldn't raise children, it can be helpful to just point out the existence of well-known successful people.
Discrimination against same-sex parents and their children. In one of my Malaysia travel vlogs earlier this year, Claudia and I talked about whether we have explained homophobia to Rupert and talked about whether there are situations where he might not be safe to mention that he has two mums. So, while the children with same-sex parents do as well or better academically than children with different sex parents, and emotionally and socially and educationally, that's great. It doesn't mean that their experiences are exactly the same. We live in a cis-heteronormative society where the default assumption is that everyone is cisgender and heterosexual. And yes, we are making progress towards challenging those assumptions. Gendered expectations are really deeply embedded into our culture, especially when it comes to families and parenting.
Like the assumption that I would be the person to get pregnant if Claudia and I wanted to have children because I'm the more feminine of the two of us. I mean,
so how did you decide which of you would carry Rupert?
Doesn't it all hurt that, I have disabilities that mean I can't carry a child? It's fine. Just can't be pregnant. But wish I could. Never mind.
Being a queer parent brings very unique challenges and anxieties, including questions like this, or about which of you is the real parent. And like all parents, same-sex parents worry about their children. In 2023 study, Mental Health of Children with Gender and Sexual Minority Parents, a Review and Future Directions, again, a long title, found that gender and sexual minority parents anticipate rejection, not only of themselves, but they expect the rejection of their children, which adds a stress unique to gender and sexual minority parents to general stress experienced by all parents. And boy, is that a stress. But in fact, it is possible that the myth that having same-sex parents will negatively impact children might be negatively impacting children. Research published in 2017 during the public opinion poll in Australia about same-sex marriage reported that an increased public health risk exists as a result of homophobic campaign messages for the entire lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex and queer community, including a mental health risk for same-sex couples, their children and young people who identify as LGBTQIA. The paper goes on to say that exposure to devaluing and discriminatory public messaging regarding these issues results in stark negative psychological and relational consequences for same-sex couples and their families. Shocker.
That's right. Even though there are no adverse mental health outcomes for children of same-sex parents, the stigma about same-sex parents might impact their children. The title of the paper, The Kids Are Okay. It's discrimination, not same-sex parents, that harms children. Pretty much says it all.
But wait, you haven't experienced discrimination as being part of a same-sex family, have you?
Well, you know what? I would like the privilege in not having to pause and assess how safe the situation is before answering when a stranger looks at us both and says, "Whose baby is it?" Ours. Both of us. We're both his mothers.
You chose to start a family. You chose to be with, alternative lifestyles and all that.
But I didn't choose to be born halfway through a timeline in which society evolves into a more inclusive and equitable place for all. What I can do is help to get there and raise the next generation to think of kindness first.
And while it's easy to think that we're always progressing when it comes to the acceptance of LGBTQ+ rights, that's not necessarily true. In Italy last year, non-birthing mothers and lesbian couples found their names being removed from their children's birth certificates after a government mandate was issued. I mean, it's really horrifying to think about that happening to me, because being on a birth certificate doesn't make you less of a parent in day-to-day life, but if something big were to happen, it's my family. Fight you.
It was important for me to make this video, not only because I think it's important to debunk the idea that having same-sex parents is bad for children, but also because it can be exhausting to have to constantly be fighting against these assumptions.
Same-sex parents shouldn't have to be prepared with statistics and studies to justify our ability to care for our children.
I also wanted just to reassure other same-sex parents that you don't have to worry that being ourselves, being queer is going to negatively impact our kids. If anything, it's the opposite. Yay, good for us. We are more likely to raise children who are more compassionate, more comfortable, and more confident being themselves. I feel like that suggests we're pretty good parents on the whole. Look at us.
And that's not just something same-sex parents say, but something that's backed up by research.
Please do leave a comment if you enjoyed this video, and also share any depictions of same-sex parents in media you think are especially good.
Oh, I would very much like to check out your recommendation, I would. I'm very interested.
And if you'd like an exclusive fancy Surfshark deal, Surfshark has been so kind as to give viewers of my videos a special 3 months for free when you click the link in my description or use the QR code on screen now.
And thank you so much to the Kellgren-Fozard Club members, my clubbies, for continuing to support the channel. If you want to join our not at all secret membership club, don't know why I'm in the house, right here on my YouTube channel, you'll get special perks, including a shout out in your birthday month, an exclusive behind the scenes video every month, and the ability for your comments to rise to the top of the comment section, as you'll see below.
You also get my face next to your name when you'll comment on a video, wearing a series of adorable crowns.
Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!